Welcome back to The Explainer. Look, if you thought the 2026 season couldn't possibly get any wilder, well, the Czech Grand Prix at the legendary Brno circuit just completely flipped the script on us. We were talking about a weekend that pushed riders and their incredibly complex prototype machines to the absolute breaking point. I'm really thrilled to guide you through a dramatic catch-up of Saturday's sprint race, because this session, it might just go down as the ultimate turning point of the entire 2026 championship.
I mean, just look at this quote from Red Bull KTM's Pedro Acosta. When you're not focusing, then it's easy that this can happen. This perfectly captures the vibe of the whole weekend. It wasn't just a race, it was literally a chaotic demolition derby of title contenders. Any slight lapse in concentration, any microscopic miscalculation in those grueling conditions was immediately and severely punished. We saw factory riders falter, and championship dreams take massive, massive hits.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to cover the turbulent Brno sprint, run through a quick lap-by-lap digest, break down those shocking accidents and penalties, check out the official sprint results, and finally, look at how this entirely reshapes the latest point standings.
All right, Section 1, the turbulent Brno sprint, extreme heat and high stakes. We're talking 35 degrees Celsius ambient, with track temperatures hitting a scorching 55 degrees. To put that into perspective, you could probably fry an egg on those carbon fiber fairings. And remember, we're in a transitional year before the new 850cc regulations kick in for 2027, so these 1000cc beasts are at the absolute razor's edge of development. Wrestling these aerodynamic monsters around Brno's 14 corners in what basically felt like a high-speed sauna, it pushed riders to their absolute physical limits. Grip was a total nightmare, and tire degradation was a massive concern for everyone on the grid.
But out of that intense heat on Friday and Saturday morning emerged a truly phenomenal performance. Trackhouse Aprilia's Iagora set a blistering lap record of 151.139 to secure his historic maiden MotoGP pole position. By the way, that's the first pole for a Japanese Premier Class rider since 2020. This stunning achievement set a super high-stakes tone right from the start, proving for sure that the satellite Aprilia squad had the outright pace to challenge the factory heavyweights.
Moving on to Section 2, the Sprint Race Digest, a 10-lap war of attrition.
Let's look at how quickly things unraveled here. Right out of the gate on lap 1, Maverick Vinales touched the white line and crashed, which actually took Diogo Moreira out in a totally separate incident. Then by lap 5, while fighting fiercely for the top 5, Pedro Acosta suffered a heartbreaking mechanical failure with his rear ride height device, leading straight to a crash. And then, the real shocker on lap 8. Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi loses the front at turn 3 and goes down. The attrition rate of top-tier talent was just staggering as those laps ticked down.
Yet, amidst all of that absolute chaos, someone had to keep a cool head, right? Iagora nailed the start from pole to grab the whole shot, but it was the reigning sprint master himself, Francesco Bagnaia, on the factory Ducati, who flawlessly executed his race strategy. Bagnaia made an aggressive but meticulously clean pass on Agura at turn 10 on the second lap. From there, he just completely controlled the pace, expertly nursing his tires on that 55-degree asphalt to cross the line first, confidently returning to his signature sprint dominance.
Section 3, shocking accidents and penalties, the heartbreak that defines Saturday.
And this brilliantly illustrates the duality of the challenges these riders face out there. On one side, you have technical heartbreak. Pedro Acosta, who is riding brilliantly, is betrayed by a locked rear ride height device. It's a poignant reminder of how dependent these riders are on these highly complex systems. On the other side, rider error. A seasoned veteran like Maverick Vinales simply touched a painted white line under braking in the heat and instantly lost the front end. Both human and mechanical limits were breached this weekend.
But we really have to talk about the most consequential event of the day, which surrounded championship leader Marco Bezzecchi. After crashing out of a solid points-paying position on lap 8, Bezzecchi engaged in a physical altercation in the gravel trap. As a track marshal attempted to move the stricken Aprilia, Bezzecchi pushed and actually slapped the marshal in the face. Following a review of the footage, the FIM stewards handed Bezzecchi an official suspension, banning him from participating in Sunday's Grand Prix. It's just a disastrous turn of events for the title leader.
Which brings us to Section 4, official sprint race results, Bagnaia's return to the top.
Now what's really interesting about this top 5 is the sheer pedigree. Baga ends his sprint victory drought to take the maximum 12 points. Iagura held his nerve brilliantly against the factory Ducatis to secure his maiden sprint podium, finishing just 2/10 behind. Marc Marquez showed his steady, relentless presence to grab third.
And rounding out the top 5, we have Fabio de Giannantonio and Jorge Martin, who quietly capitalized on the crashes ahead of them to salvage some seriously vital points.
These are massive point hauls for Bagnaia, Ogura, and Marquez. Scoring 12, 9, and 7 points on a Saturday is always significant in a tightly contested championship, but it becomes absolutely monumental when you realize the current championship leader, Marco Bezzecchi, walked away from this exact same race with a grand total of 0 points.
Finally, Section 5. Latest point standings, the championship gap officially closes.
Let's see how this builds, because this entirely reshapes the narrative for the rest of the season. Marco Bezzecchi still clings to the lead with 180 points, but Jorge Martin is breathing down his neck right behind him at 172. Di Giannantonio is creeping up, and Marquez and Ogura have firmly entrenched themselves in the top 5. Bezzecchi's 0-point Saturday, combined with that suspension for Sunday's main event, means this entire top 5 group has just been handed a golden ticket to close the gap.
So, the crucial point to take away here is this single digit, 8. The title fight has narrowed down to a razor-thin 8 points between the factory Aprilia teammates Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin. A championship lead that looked somewhat comfortable just 24 hours ago has totally evaporated in the blistering Czech heat.
And that leaves us with this massive question. With the gap closing rapidly and the current leader sidelined due to an unprecedented suspension, the momentum has entirely shifted. We've seen how quickly disaster can strike, and how ruthlessly this grid capitalizes on a mistake. So as we look to the rest of the season, who has the focus, the machinery, and the sheer nerve to seize the 2026 championship? The stage is beautifully, chaotically set. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes peeled, because this season is far from over.